Hi everybody, I'm Jess, your go-to Kingdom Dance analyst, and we are here taking a look at the third matchup on the first challenge of Road to Kingdom Ace of Ace. We got the Crew 1, CRAVITY, and ONEUS to look at. We have their full cams and their artists that they're covering their full cams, so we could do a fun comparison between the two. After I wrap up this analysis, I will be taking a look at the full episode that you can go and take a look at on Patreon, just to kind of see if I have any refined feedback when I go and look at the camera performances. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Come a little closer. 삼켜버려. The sugar rush. 생각이 웃음을 멈췄어. 내 다시 가위는 순간 풀어 헤쳐져 내게 Come a little closer 넌 속삭여 삼켜버려 The sugar rush 너를 향해 Sweet desire 꿈에 데려가는 침대의 밑에 나야 I can feel 거부할 수가 없어 달콤한 그대 delicious mind
Oh, okay. Ah, okay. Oh, these basket runs, man. That was cool. Ooh, yeah. Wow. That dance break didn't feel so as off-putting as some of the other dance breaks we've seen in the challenge, so that's a good note. And what's beneficial with this group, I mean, we're already seeing house in this, which makes me excited to see what's overlaps here. They don't need a ton of dancers because they have so many members anyway, which is cool. Wow, I'm very intrigued on how the original sounds like. Oh, we're not done yet. I'm ready. Yeah. No one was there as he's leaned back. That's cool. We have to hold it and hold it and hold it. Bless the boys. We have to keep holding that pose. Okay, here we go. This is so... This is fun. Okay. The devil said.
Interesting. Okay, okay.
Devilish smile. I think this is the first time I'm noticing TXT with such a height, like such a height difference. I mean, I know we have, I knew that we had differences, that's fine. But it's the first time it's like, I can really see based on how they balance the formations, who they have as their mirrors. So fascinating. Okay. Cool, cool. And remember, we're looking at all three performances back to back to back because that's how we're going to be placing our votes. So right here, next up, Crew 1, Watch It by the boys. That's our ace, I'm assuming.
it fell out. Okay. That was cool. Nice illusion. The LEDs are really cool. Like the clarity of that is in 4 freaking K, man.
Watch it.
Okay. Here we go. I've already analyzed this bad boy. Analysis is on Patreon. I've already marathoned this group. I think with the boys, this is probably one of my favorite courses that Mihawk has done for them. The Wada Wada is fun. And finally, ONEUS. Kick it. CT127. I have not done an analysis of this one, but I've seen quite a few.
Make it mad.
Okay. little shmoney. Better. Got that taken care of. long track. Actually, now that I think about it. Okay. All right. So my vote. Who would I vote for out of the three groups of who should take top spot? I think CRAVITY would be my vote out of what we have seen. Of course, we're gonna talk about and dive super deep. Each one has something significantly underwhelming about it, though. We're gonna be very honest. I would say the usage of their camera is my big constructive note for CRAVITY, and most things that I'm going to be constructive on have nothing to do with the groups, everything to do with the team behind them. So they are the only ones that had like a person, a camera guy on stage. When you have a live audience that is part of your voting, I always heed a huge degree of caution, because the more that camera guy is in front of whatever detail you want to show, it's cool to get it on camera, don't get me wrong, especially if you got a streaming audience, yes, but you don't want to neglect your audience. So that was my big note that I would give to CRAVITY. My big note to Crew 1 was their usage. It really feels like we're fighting for a timepiece when it's I understand why we have it, but your audience will not. It just feels like a prop that I'm supposed to know about, but I don't. It's not giving your audience any leeway to be helpful. And with ONEUS, my big note with them, it's fascinating that for me, that I said in my overview of the Ace of Ace groups of what ONEUS is really good at is fusion between the Korean cultural folk side and the streetwear side, and I feel like the original track kind of caters more to that brand than what they were trying to go on, which was just so fascinating to me. So I kind of feel like song choice on ONEUS, I really don't think out of the entire NCT universe of tracks, this is the one they picked. I don't know if, well, it could be the company. I don't know if that was your best song pick. And I also think out of the three groups, CRAVITY reworked their track the most. And I also think with the Crew 1, I'm not saying that they're trying to be like the BOYZ, but I know that they admire and they want to represent the BOYZ well. But also I feel like, I know they want to give the BOYZ justice, and they did, but it doesn't feel like the Crew 1 made it their own. It just felt like they covered their sunbase. You know, it'd be like if Psychers covered ATs, if that makes sense. Anyway, here we go. From the top, let's analyze it. So this here with the hand, it's cool. You have this whisper, really interesting. Come a little closer. It definitely has sense of somebody grabbing somebody else, which is fascinating. The little reach, I love the commitment all the way through, which I really like. Now the tricky thing about this is you can tell that that hand slowly starts to come up before you have that really cool reveal, right? But that just happens because you have a connection going on with one of your members with who's talking it. So that's really cool. So this illusion, very interesting. I think this has like a block that stops the chair. There's a mechanism in it that bolts it to stop at a certain point. Love the illusion of it. I love the commitment every time we see it. Camera guys out ruins the vibes, if I'm being completely honest. But at least you get to see the contrast in white. That's really smart, just so we can appreciate what we're seeing. Here for it, which is nice. Hitting it back, the little hums, and this so readable. I love the fact the camera guy's out of my way so I can see what's going on. And that little actual synthy interruption in there. Ooh! Now here, I want to see what's going on with this hand and our first feature, but alas, the camera guy said, not today. Because I'll see it in the camera version, but I want to see it now. That's my note. So here, he's having his moment. Our feature, technically, like our current one, is out of shot from our camera guy, but you got to think about the people that are hanging out near that stage left side in the audience. They're not able to see what's going on. Imagine if that was your bias and you're sitting over there and you're like, I finally got tickets to go watch him, and you can't. Opening the door is really cool, and I honestly really like the fact that it's completely black except for the scene that's being set. Really great utilization of their prop on the platform. We've done this before with studios competition, because whenever you have dollies or you're with that kind of wheel, you're able to like move it. Or whenever you do like productions, let's say with Nutcracker, that's a big thing. We have a lot of props on wheels like that because you can get them in and out and rotate them for what you need them for in a quick way. And we do Narnia at one of my other studios, so it's really cool to be able to see this here. The laying down, do I want to see that? Yes, of course I do. So that's my big note there. Then you have this hand visual. I want to see what's going on. The twist is cool. So you have this slow rotation going on, which is nice with the fingers. Then you have this moment that creates our feature nice and high. He bleeds the other two up, which is cool. The little accent. And then you have two more come in. Now for me, I personally would love to see if this full cam could scoot out so I can actually see how people get in and out of the stage. That would be my note there, just so, because I can't really touch on how well their offstage to onstage transitions are. Even though it's darker, it's still something to keep in mind, that you want it to be, you know, something committed to character across the board, not just where the camera wants me to look at it, right? So we still have this camera in front of all the action. I think that's my thing. We're 40 seconds in, and that camera, I mean, no, technically I would say 30 out of the 40 seconds that camera's out there. So that's I think that's a really, really big note. I think this is the worst case of it out of all of the performances, but I would still say there's so many other elements of this that really make up for that big note I'm giving. The combativeness is really cool. Also, their arrangement I think is the best out of the three too. Great song choice out of the discography. This is the first time I'm really like hearing it, but seeing what they went with. LED usage, I love the usage of the fog. I love that they got that all nice and pumped out. Sometimes they can't control that, but that's cool. I really think ONEUS shot themselves in the foot with their song choice. Just like who else? 8-Turn also did. So anyway, they take it over, da 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 da. So I like the opposition, but also the symmetry, the arms there. So I love the dancers popping out like that. They're not on camera, but we can see them. Thank you. Those are little moments that I appreciate. It makes it feel like I matter as an audience member, which I think is really needed in this moment. So a little grab there. It's very conversational. It feels like we're building, we're adding more and more members, or each one is interpreting a different section of the verse, which is really cool. Then you have your dancers come in. You still have this energy, or you still have them building and building, and you have the track also complementing that. Your dancers are nice and low. And then right there, the commitment, he freaking hopped, he went and he hit the table. Also, I'm assuming our ace has the hand. So this whole beginning, I mean the beginning and the end, the bookends, you can very clearly understand who your ace is, which is very well done considering we're not doing a contrast in costuming like we've seen with with YOUNITE. I think they were a great example of just work it to your advantage. I think Crew 1 tried to do, even though none of them really got it from each other, but it just feels the same because it's all on the same night, right? Crew 1 pulled something similar to what YOUNITE did in terms of the color contrast. I don't think it worked for Crew 1 though as much, unfortunately. So the little bleed up is cool. The turn, I love the set rotation. Honestly, part of me really appreciates the fact that it's staying in the center and you're not seeing it unnecessarily move to a new spot when you know it's really not supposed to. So that means that our dancers have done a great job on providing equal pressure in the rotation, so it gets you what you want to see. And the timing of his section is really vital here. Now, that hand ends up falling off that table. That's life. But at that point, you have people coming in with their chicken wing basket runs. That's still a really big note. This one's, it's not as worse of a case as some of the other ones we saw in this challenge, but it's still a note I'm given. I think 8 turns was the biggest culprit of the basket runs. And so here, this one, you see it a lot, but not enough for me to be like, how dare you? You know, I think it's just missed opportunity. We're going to chalk it up to that. Moving on from there, I love that they bring it, and he's all the way to the front. That's hit. This little extra pull from the hip is really cool. And the switch is also nice. And then you have them move the prop away. It's a little bit darker in the back. And you have your members all building up their energy, which is cool with the fog. Hit and the hit is nice. And the pulls, a lot of tension being pulled from the sternum. He goes da 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 da. So he stays up. Everyone does a speed change down. So everyone matches dynamic, but you still have 1 point in that formation. Da 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 da. Cool. The whistle is nice. That little. So this is pretty much the same choreo, right? I love the triple doon doon doon. I don't think that's in the original. That little triple, is it? Let me see though.
No, they just have a breath, so I love the little knocking door effect on here, if you notice that. And everyone committed to it. Really like that. Could they have pulled an add-on on it? Maybe. Oh, this isn't a CRAVITY formation, but it's close. Oh, I love it. Bingo! Check off. We love it. Okay. Give me. Very, I like, honestly, they've committed a little bit better than I saw TXT do it in that moment, which I don't mind. Like, I think it's totally okay to call it what it is. These are good fits for him, too. Yeah, now the LED, not quite sure. I mean, the color scheme is fine. I am curious as to why we chose this type of visual in the back. Is it like a dreamy, euphoric kind of perspective they're trying to get us to go to? Maybe that, I don't know. But I like that presenting out, so I like that choice. Syncopation is nice, and then you have your meltaways. So then you have your center. He's the only one that really like looks forward. Everyone else is looking in different directions, so it's easier for us to catch our feature. Then we crawl it up, which is nice. I like the build on that sugar rush, but also the downbeat on it, but also like the pacing of it and the different timbres we have integrated into this. So sound context that has been added in this is different. All of it is different. It's just the words for the most part in some of our choreography, which to me, they're making this song their own, which I love. That's what you have to do in this challenge specifically. It's not a fan challenge. This is a cover challenge. You want to make the song your own, and I think they did that out of the three groups. They did the best, I think. They like the gimme, so I like the little come here, nice and low, and then he brings it up and high as our feature. The pulls are nice, and the directions are really cool. Then you have your two diagonals with three, and a little grouping of three in the center. The little melt, I love that effect. We hit sugar rush, boom, and it definitely feels like we have this extra sticky punctuation on the tail end of our ball changes. Maybe a full pop, not quite sure, but I do like that effect. It's really nice. The little strobe is cool. There's your basket runs. I'm gonna see him every time. Come on, I think, dancers, come on. Yeah, bring it over, and then they turn, which is nice. Yep, does it kind of look like they're doing like a music show promotion? It does come across that way, but it doesn't feel like they're covering a TXT track, so that's the difference. So that would be my note. It doesn't quite feel like that overly conceptual space like the bookends do, but at least they're staying on brand with the LEDs because we have a lot of neutrals that are, you know, here with the black and the white. So I think it's fine. I'm just not quite sure what they want me to feel conceptually. Now, I do come from the lens of I don't feel like you need a concept to be able to showcase your craft or to showcase a routine. I actually encourage against concepts when you do competitive choreography in a elite level lens, especially like the HHI circuit, because your concept is not judged. It can only work against you in deductions, and we can get into that way later whenever we tackle an HHI routine, hopefully in the future. But here in Road to Kingdom and just the franchise, concepts matter a lot. So much so, I think it's very safe to say it's going to be a criteria that's looked at for the masses as well as whoever is a committee that looks at it. They're not going to separate it. So that's why I'm more gung-ho about if you're going to go concept, be very clear on it. At least in the color palette, they're very clear. Definitely feels more on that euphoric side. So we're just going to tie into that. But if they wanted it to be a very specific niche, I didn't quite catch it. So that would be my overall note. I'll get that clarified in the episode. But of course, they transition out. I like the fact that our dancers are in the center versus only just framing on the outside. That was a big note I gave to some of the other groups, is that it felt like our dancers and our members trained separately, and then on dress rehearsal day, they just threw it together. So here, I like the fact that it doesn't quite feel that way. Then we have a fun moment. He goes up and he goes and he has an angsty fall. I mean, the amount of times we'll probably see that in every challenge and every single season, it's a lot. So buckle up. I guess if anything, repackaging it, I do think, who was it? It was either ONEUS or the CREWONE. They had a really interesting like pickup on their lift that dropped back that I really liked, and so whenever we encounter that, we'll talk about it. But that one was nice. It's not quite as captivating as I would say it used to be. So I like the extra pulse on this. Boom, dun, dun. And this right here, it definitely feels like you can pull a house jack out of this, which is a groove. And so I really like the fact that we're introducing that, and you do end up seeing a little bit of house at the end in style. So I love that. And bring it up, and then we go and we travel just through little trays. Dancers, this is a stylized transition, which I appreciate. Thank you for that. And they go out in, and then we take our energy up, and then we go and we push around.
And then we go down, boom, and the dancers are all joining in. And then we hit over to the side, we pull, out, in, very nice. And then we have our energy here, arm, 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 arm. And then we have an extra little energy that's pulsing right there in the hands. And then you have more energy. This is just energy that they're pushing and kind of pulsing through for either from their hips, their core, or their upper body, which I really like with your dancers and your members. So this is an example, if you're seeing this formation, of if you see a group or if you see choreo that really is just structured like this, where you just have your members in the center and then you have your dancers on the outside. To me, that feels like missed opportunities and lazy on the choreographer's part if this is the only thing you choose to pursue. In the case with CRAVITY and whoever choreographed for them this time, I mean, I have my suspicions, but we'll know in the episode. They did a really good job on, I think it's fine to have this, but this didn't show up until halfway through the routine. It's not the first thing they did. The dancers were there that were functional, progressing storyline with the prop usage, as well as their integrated within. If you remove the dancers, it does make it feel emptier. Just like if you remove the members, it feels emptier, obviously. And so that's kind of what you would want if you do choose to use dancers. They're there as a functional, productive means to make your sentiments known conceptually. And that's exactly what I feel like we're definitely utilizing them for, which I appreciate. Always love talking about it. Sugar Rush, and that's right there. I love the subtlety. This little extra dig in halftime, and then we double it up because it builds, so naturally our movement, the density and frequency in which we execute it also elevates, which is nice. This little boom, 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 boom. Love that. It definitely feels like we're going that I'm a piano, viral movement quality side, which is fascinating to me, and it works, which is cool. We're here for it. Two of our guys walk mirrored on the outside, and this was nice. So it's very interesting where you have an every other, and they're accenting and then dropping, and then they run down, and then they come up. So now we have a little silhouette vibe. This is cool. I can feel. Then they create a little figure eight, and they mirror the wave through the fingers. Mwah, chef's kiss every time. Very intentional on that, and I honestly think it was a great call to silhouette that first moment, and then these more intimate integrations that they're seeing here would be harder to catch if it was blacked out. So it was very nice on the lighting cues for that. That was cool. The wave out once again is nice. The folds, da 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 da. So all this is wrist, not fixed points, but you do have to. It's isolated where you're moving your wrist and you're giving the illusion that this hand is stuck in a particular place. So that's really cool. And then they bleed it up with the fingers. Dun, dun, dun. I love how we high falsetto. We bleed our head up. It's really nice. And then we go have this moment too, and I like the connection on the tail end of that's nice. There's your basket run. Now, are these the same two that were in the beginning? Maybe. That would make sense, and I like these arms, which is cool. And then they all ran out, and then they grab, boom, little angsty pull, and then they have this whisper, whisper. So it feels like we have a member that's being like manipulated by what they're being told, and I felt like that was a storyline progression within that with these whispers, right? Now this part here reminds me of, what is it? It could be Witch by Psychers, possibly, because the illusion of the long arms, or, oh my gosh, is it Witch? Maybe it's that whole Tricky House. I mean, the whole concept Tricky House, but it's the thing with Hunter with the really, really long arms. That's what this little mess reminds me of in a cool way. No, I don't think they plagiarized. That's not that at all. But I like the illusion. It's really cool. The waves are nice, and then of course the gloves are going to add this extra degree of, allowing the hand to follow through and complete the extension of the sleeve. That's white, which is nice, but also it's a potential liability and risk because we're going to look at him, which is cool. So he has this moment, drop down, and then we go, and they go, and then we switch it. This doesn't feel as off-putting as some other groups that chose to go dance break for their aces. I think Crew 1's was very empty for their choice. But here, I like having the dancers make our ace stand out in a great way. So that's my big no here. The voom, voom, and they go crisp. And then I like the extra accent on that. It's really cool. And then right here, that ding, 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 ding. So I think we went from stage right to stage left on the ta-ta-ta-ta aesthetic, and then having a couple with their arms up a little bit higher, which is really nice effect. Then the little pickup on there on the whoa, dropping it down. They grab, grab, grab. And go out. So having these sounds that are, showing up on
on this choreo, and they're not quite, what's the word? It doesn't feel like we're changing our genre entirely, which I appreciate. It is still a smidgen disconnected, but not nearly as much as competitors I've seen. They go out in, boom, boom, and this little wringling out effect is really cool. More people have now joined in the scene. This wave, da-da-da-da-da-da, and I like the itemized spacing of that. And they go switching, ding, so I like the extra angles and how they chose to break that. It's also nice when you have the cross with the arms. And it's like we opened a portal, and then there's this really dope hand, which is cool. Honestly, I kind of wish that we had that utilized a little bit earlier. It kind of feels just like a really big paperweight. But I understand the hand, and we've kind of now made it a really big moment. And the pull through, I like that. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The sugar rush, 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 and I love that. Even the usage of the lower body is really cool. They drop down, really nice, taking the legs, rotating them across, the tap, then sliding onto the stomach into a kick to finish. I think one of our guys didn't technically do that. That's what happened. His timing was off, but he was able to complete it. Nice. So he goes down, sugar rush, rush, sugar rush, rush. So I like they do it twice, and then they hit it down, and they come out, sugar rush, rush, rush. And then we have these subtleties, nice and low. Next feature, and then he has his little moment. And then they go down. I like the stylized transition from our members and then having our dancers frame in the back. And they step, 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 step. And then they come up. They go hit, little pas de bourrée. And they pick it up, another pas de bourrée on this, the pulls. And then we do a switch up with the hips to bring the arms up nice and full. Nice angsty moment to create a contrast with the torso to make it to have some opposition. Then this is nice. That's a loose leg they're doing with the shoulders. They're adding groove and a loose leg in the house step. And that's the other little excerpt. They were showcasing or foreshadowing this moment earlier on, but now we really get to see it here. I don't think TXT did a full like house excerpt like what we're seeing here. So that's newer. Yeah, they give me with the arms, and they bring it up. And then they're taking it. It's not a full baracho, but it's definitely a little ball change with the feet transitioning. Then the only downside is, yes, this whole thing is coming back on. They got to do it. I like the full flush where you see the LEDs and everything, but I can subtly, hide this set a little bit, but it is something where it is a smidgen distracting for me seeing that being transitioned, because they're not doing anything stacking in our levels outside of just, maybe full unison for this moment. They're just transitioning it. If anything, I can see why they chose to transition when they did with our dancers, because it actually got the party started right here on the set, getting our members across, so this didn't feel so distracting. While it's moving, you already have dancers and members moving too, so it felt like the flow is a little bit easier to cover. So I understand that. They build it up. I like that. Just the usage of the torso and rocking it with the hinge is really nice. I appreciate that. Bring it up. I like the drop down. And this is just a nice little angsty finish. And this is clean, hitting it over, up. Love it. And the pacing of the legs is nice. Rotating it over from side to side is also really fun. It was accent, so mid, low. Then we bring it up. Little feature moment with my guy up top. This whole part. Da 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 da. Oh, what does it remind me of? Girls' Generation. It does, like that da 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 da, with all that like in your face kind of sound is what it reminds me of. They all are moving through that sugar, and you think it's over. Then we have a switch up here. Now that didn't bother me like I would feel, with Tempest, where we still had movement and all of this going on, or things going on, and there was no music. We have music here. So I don't mind to have like a fake ending where they're all, through the door. And this type of reveal, doesn't it remind you of, I think the BOYZ did an Una Fantasia, where they all go through the door and it creates this huge, beautiful, full bloom tree. In this case, you get to see that we're now reverting back to the original part of our story. So I feel like the lyrics are furthering our story too. So the dancers, it's like we're bookending it. So we have our feature here with the hand, and then we still have the hand in the back. And then they're all looking, intrigued, and then they go tilting back. Interesting. It's cool, and then they have to still hold it. Hold it. and for, I guess, do they do blackouts or do they just like, okay, back to a full flush and then we all have to break character? Personally, for me, I would prefer that they just completely do a blackout if they were Mnet and then allowing them to kind of reset so then we can transition out of it, but I digress. This was pretty good. I'm happy with it. Okay, Crew 1, I've already kind of said a really big thing on this. I like the setup in the beginning, but I'm giving them the same note that I gave YOUNITE and I gave their competitor too. Who are they against? Because it was TEMPEST versus the NCT, and so it was YOUNITE versus, oh my gosh, chess. Oh, 8-turn. It was the usage of black on black, and it's just really hard to see what's going on. So as cool as this illusion is, if I'm there live, there's a really high chance I could probably see it. But from this video, I gotta look and assume. And so for me, that's just a note. But we're going for this really angsty medieval white fits across the board with a lot of our people. I mean, their competitors are kind of showing it too. But you have your ace, I believe, right? With that responsibility. So I like the leans on that. Cool. This beginning does remind me of Fire and Ice from the Boys. So I'm tying it back to Kingdom Legendary War. So maybe they were really trying to pull from the Boys' time on Kingdom to kind of have a leg up on lore integration. I don't think it worked in their favor though. It just felt like we were cosplaying as the Boys. You know, it's life. I really feel that way, especially when you see them come out. It's just such a contrast of the red and the white. It feels like two completely different concepts we're going for. So the flips were cool. Go up, that's whatever. He reaches, opposition down. He takes it. I mean, you have your timepiece right there. They flip it down. So this being flipped, what does this mean? Are we time traveling or what? So the lift up, I did notice that was a little flip. That's fine. The pull in is fine. And then you have somebody in red that feels like it's a completely different concept, right? Is that what we're going for? That we have, you know, somebody that's in this medievally fit and then we flip the timepiece over and now we're entering into another dimension, maybe? I don't know. Personally, for me, I'd wish if we're going to go red like that, because it's a very striking color, love it, at least share it, be in the same family of garment style. Turn through, hit through. Then right here, are we in hyphen? Is what this feels, you know? Oh, man. And he bites. And then there's no marking. Or maybe there is. And then from there, he's like, oh, let me just wipe this off like I didn't just have my blood sucked from me. Like... And then he moves over like he's trying to make it like this really sensual moment. This is not believable to me, unfortunately. So if I'm being completely honest, I mean, we're going to analyze ONEUS 2. There's a chance I'd put Crew 1 at the bottom for this entire challenge because I don't think, like, I already was a bit wary when they picked the boys. I'm like, we're going to probably run into a really big imposter syndrome problem with them, and a lot of it's not going to be on them, especially if we're using people that have an overlap affiliation with the boys. Which I don't think is quite 100% the case, but the song choice too, I don't know why we chose to opt for this one. I know they'll explain it in the episode, but this one has a very particular, it's in the F-boy era of the boys. I've called it this many times. It's not my first rodeo. I know what kind of a tease they are. I've spent a lot of time in this chair looking at it. So for me, it feels like we're trying to keep that essence, but in a completely different, like a Kingdom version, it feels like that, which I wonder if that's the intention of it, but... Anyway, so he goes forward. He sits in this, you know, he sits down. Are we not dead? Like, that was a pretty big bite. I'm assuming we would have a much more impactful case of not just the sound dropping out, but be on the floor or something. I don't know. And then maybe having a costume change, but I understand you're the ace would be my natural assumption. Have a costume affiliation like what you saw from YOUNITE, and I gave notes on that too, of show that there's some form of shift outside of your personality and stage presence, because I only have literally 15 seconds to go off of that I have to remember for the rest of the time. That's my note there. Now we have no LED here, which is fine. So I like that we're utilizing the prop in this way to create these sense of benches, which is cool. Now here, it definitely gives this medieval welcome to our home. Cool. And then we fold it, da, da, da. So maybe if they're trying to progress their story, which I very clearly believe that's what they're doing, my big note is if they're trying to get certain timepiece essences across that they were justifying in their intro stages, challenge one, you have to let it be a standalone. For me, you shouldn't have to have your audience understand the entire franchise for them to pick up on whatever concept you're going for, and just one person's garment. You know, you have to make it be a standalone, which is my point that I really appreciated from the new 6. I think theirs should take the top spot out of everybody's performances, because I know they get ranked in the matches, but they also get ranked in the point side, right? So I stand behind, I think new 6 is a really big contender for taking top spot for this challenge. And YOUNITE could pull top 3 as well, for the reasons that I kind of stated, you know? And yeah, get down. I like that. That's cool. So we melt away, which is fine. So the contrast of red makes them stand out, which is great. Love that. The contrasting color palette, which is really nice. Now the danger, like they'll bleed out, and then you have your dancers go, they take it, pull it up. Now who is our feature? I'm assuming it's our 2 on the outside, right? So I like the leans on this. It's cool. And then we fold it down. Now, ooh, hold on. So we have this lifted up. Did we need to do that? I don't think so, because this middle section didn't quite frame everybody to the inside. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel as functional. It felt like we were missing somebody there. Maybe that did happen. I'm curious. Did something happen with the group? I couldn't tell you. That's life. Sometimes stuff like that happens. So I'm hoping that everyone's okay, but that little section right there, I don't know why the middle group put theirs up unless somebody was supposed to be there and they're not. That'll be my only assumption. So go da 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, they have everybody, I think. So then here over. Now some of us are choosing to add this extra pop embellishment, some are not. So that would be a choreo clarification on texture. Then melting it in, they build it up using the hips to push it up, which is cool. Then so they have reworked it. They give this like medieval serenade vibe, right? So which I think it sounds cool, but my notes still stand though. Tune, which is cool. So I like the direction changes on this. We're here for it, and the high-low levels is nice. And then he pulls over to Without You, and I like that. Nice. He has this moment, so of course you have those that are having more fullness with their arms and their bodies compared to your feature. He takes that more subtle approach, and they do a pretty good job holding it down with whatever's going on in the back. It's not very distracting. Need You Now. And then we have this little moment here. We have your other members. You know, we have our feature. He's looking to us and no one else is, so it's naturally easier for us to clock him. And we comes up. And then this is actually going to be a note that I pulled from Street Dance Girl Fighter Season 1 or Season 2. It's one of those. I don't remember, so I'm so sorry with that. But there was a big note I gave to one of the routines, and it was near the end of their set, one of the dancers chose to take off her jacket and use it as a gimmick. And I gave the note on what ended up happening, because they still had about 30 seconds left of their ending portion of their choreo. Because she wasn't in the center and she was offset, which is what we're seeing right here, it doesn't feel balanced, and it doesn't feel like we're factoring in our costuming at all in those moments. And it feels like we didn't think through, let's make sure that our ace or whoever had or did that gimmick, we give them something so they don't stick out unnecessarily. I've mentioned this when I talk about people whose main roles are dancers in these groups, because I gave the note, I think it was to Psychers, is my not most recent, but it's one that I think of, where if your role is being a main dancer, you can't become a distraction because of your full out energy when it's not time for it. So costuming plays that role, especially when you're dealing with contrasting colors like the white and the red. You look at the color palette of the LEDs, the red is saturating more so than the white, so the white's going to stand out because of the other lighting cues. But when you have that blue, that red stuck out mighty fine. Do you see what I mean? So I think like in these moments, that's my big note I'm giving, is that I feel like he's the ace, so it's easy for us to follow him, but I want to follow the group. The goal is to make it the group, right? So I don't know. That's a big note I'm gonna get to the style side of not just, it feels like we're not 100%, like some of our choices feel like we're cosplaying the BOYZ, and some of our choices feel like we're on brand with this white, but it also is like, what are we doing? Like what's our function? Are we being combative to our dancers? You know, I don't quite know what the point of this is. And that's my note, especially because you're giving me these references to this timepiece that we already know this audience doesn't know about from intros. So you can't assume that they do. And but you're making me feel like I'm supposed to know something when I don't, and so I feel silly. Like I feel like I feel dumb. Does that make sense? And you don't want to make your audience feel that way. Take the arms out, and I like the little throw on that little U, so he goes down. I like that. You better watch it. Now this part, the downbeat's the same, and they end up going this groggy sound. It's a cover. That's what it is. Yeah. So I like this little extra strings, and now it's gone into like this blood moon. Cool. Yeah, da 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 da. Cool. Could we have done red paint? Could we have done something to make it look like he's now corrupt? Maybe. So that's my note there. And the dip and the dip are nice. Cool. So all of this is similar to what the original is. Let's actually look though. Oh, it's all different. So, like I mentioned, I think too this is my Vodman Area 47, which is a pattern detector in my brain. I'm very familiar with this choreography. I've analyzed it compared to all the other ones. So it could be a reason why I may be more constructive to this group. And I like the fact we got him in airborne. But this whole, watch it, the stickiness of the unison on it was so freaking sick. But also look at this format where you have your dancers, you know, on the outside, and you have your members on the inside. Let's see how much that decides to stick around. I like the integration of the props, though. We're going to give them credit where credit is due. That's cool. But what they ended up changing, I see what they're going for. The boom, boom, registering the strings. It's a lot of unison that they need more things to compensate for in the formations levels and dynamics for this unison choreo compared to the Watch It original choreo, because the iconicness of it was the uniformity that came across. Yeah, the bump, 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 bump. So that's cool. Nothing crazy. Da-da, da-da. Dropping in high-low. Pulse and pulse. And then we take the pull of the chest. They go down. And they take it back. And then they do a little pas de bourrée on the tail end of that, which is cool. And they go hit, trap. Dancers frame up. And then our members go forward. Then they go chug. And then... So we still have, I mean, personally, I'd want our dancers integrated in some way at this point, but they're just, we could have had them removed, and it's still the same thing. It says, oh my god, so that's funny here. Over, and then, of course, we basket run away. That's whatever. And they spread it out. And then right here, well, then we have one of our members stay up, everybody else do our little frame around. Boom, doom, doom, doom. And then do you see what I mean? It's all red. So who's sticking out like a sore thumb over here on stage right? Our ace. I'm assuming that's who it is. But you don't want him sticking out in this way unless he's progressing the storyline. He's just doing the choreo. So that's a big note that I hope you're picking up on that. Like, that kind of stuff can really make you get sucked out of your concept or get distracted and focus on the wrong things. I think that's more my note there. Put your new spot. So there's our timepiece right here. What's the function of it? I mean, I was told, but I shouldn't have to go off of that to know what the function of it in this routine is. Now this right here, dancers will come in. He has this little moment. He hits it down. He goes. He uses one of the dancers to assist him on the lift to rotate his legs up and over. He throws it, and then we have all of our guys coming back in. I like this moment. That's cool. And he goes high-low. The commitment, that's cool. It says, get started. And now our guy in white sticks out here because with the blue, but the red is also beautiful. The slide in, I think it's a lighting thing because some of our really cool moments are getting lost because it's so dark. So that's my note for, I think, just the stage left. I don't know what's going on with the lighting, but it's way too dark for a lot of these feature moments over here for my personal preference. Down, up, down. He says, hi, hello. My name is what you want it to be. That part there, boom. It's that smexy vampire vibe, right? And a little wink, cool. Na-na-na, na-na-na-na. Same little progressions there too. The dancers come in, just some opposite mirrored choreo. Then we have dancers set up in the back. Then we have this movement, so he moves over. I like how he pushed his way through the formation. It's nice, it's clean. And they go down, and then a little speed change there is cool. Your dancers come up, and then look at this. It's really hard to see this with the feet. So this is actually the opposite problem that A-Turn had whenever I made the note where one of our guys had white shoes on. I mean, all of them did. And he's on backs that are all black. And so it's so clear when he's not stable, when he's on people's backs like this. And then here, you want to see you want to see what's going on, right? But guess what? You can't, because the LED is black and blue, especially in this area. It's really hard to see that. So that's a big note on like when we're choosing to LED some of these screens and when we're not. Why are we choosing this screen over the red ones? How are we progressing the story? What is the story here? I feel like I'm getting an overview of it, and I feel like I'm missing something. It's really what it is. Yeah, boom, careful, watch it. So now they have that stickiness, and I like that where they drop it. That's cool. And the back, and then we rotate it through, and then we have this moment to and then we bring it through, and then we push it, drop it down, rotating the head around, walking on stage. Guess who's sticking out? Our ace over here on stage right, because it's a red light. Yep, oh my god. And we bounce, and bounce is fine. Da-da-da-da-da dig. And the accent up, we have our arms up, a little slow melt. Watch it. And then we have that little dolphin, which is fine. Through, it's really dark once again. So we still have this fun moment. We have this time being registered here, and we're coming up, and it does feel like, are we dropping into a different time dimension? Are we going up from the dimension? Which is cool. Now, this is a lift that fell, so this is a crash. So he goes up, and then he drops down. I wonder how he'll feel about that. It's life. And so he goes up and over. I would have, or try to figure out a way to get back to center, which is exactly what you saw. So I see that. The push through, also interesting to note is that with our next feature, he got covered, like it was really hard to find him, right? And it's because we had people transitioning and moving, and they're all on a similar level, so it was hard to register who we were looking at. Now, can we chalk that up to the fact that we were supposed to have such a dynamic level from the feature before that we didn't get, and so having that contrast focal point would have been helpful? Maybe. But it is unfortunate that we did choose to transition, or we didn't stay low to allow this feature to have his moment, and then now we're back to the format of our dancers on the outside, members on the inside. Throw down with the throw, boom, 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 up, down, and then we have this little high note. That was cool, where they like freaking airborne, like that's cool. Yeah, that was dope, like that was really cool. Now, when these lasers come out, let me just tell you, from this challenge, every time the lasers come out, I'm going, we're about to disconnect, aren't we? Because that's happened every time. Not as aggressively with some over others, but when those lasers happen, a lot of these concepts, there's no need for them because they're a modernized technical element when you've set up a more niche concept to go with. Does that make sense? It's the equivalence of when I saw SF9 do Move, and they had a lot of these little quark assembly line stuff, and then we went to a rave for 4/8 counts. So that's my in general note. I'm being trained. It feels like I'm getting ready for the ace dance break, and he's going by himself. I understand why they were like, let's show our ace off. Because of what he's wearing, you are technically showing him off, or you're giving your audience a guide of who to look at the whole time versus actually letting me look at your entire group. So that is a huge stylist note that I still stand by, and I still feel that way. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm being very frank with you. I do think with the Crew 1, they have incredible potential that whoever's in charge of the performance direction, we need to audit that, and we need to figure out how to make it be these own standalone concepts, because if you want to continue the storyline, I don't see where you're going with it, and it doesn't need to be like you're assuming you're going to make it to the end. You're not guaranteed your end to get all this tied up in a bow. Something that the boys were able to do is justify their kingdom lore independently, but also create and further their storyline that way too. That is not quite what we're doing here, which is a big note. Hitting it over. The illusion was really nice. This is fun. It does feel a bit empty, but that's life. And then they all decide to walk on stage. Part of me wishes that there was a sense of either they control him or he controls others. That would have been a really great way to showcase his qualities. Instead of people just walking on. Here's our ace, ta-da! And then we move on with our lives. That's fine, goes down. The puncher, fine, up, down. But notice now he's hanging out over here. Not center. Part of me would have appreciated if he was center because he's the only one in a contrasting white color. And then over ISO,
ISO, sorry, with the accent over, they go high, down, they bring it over, D. Now people are like, hey, they're really focusing on their synchronicity. They're not the only group known for synchronicity. CRAVITY is known for being clean, especially on fixed cams. I warned people about that. I said, what CRAVITY is really good at, their stuff looks way better on a fixed cam than it does on a camera shot. So I'm curious on if there's a different, like when people are watching and they're judging, if there is a sector that votes off of the camera that may get a different ranking. Then, but here in the audience, I will be surprised if CRAVITY doesn't take top 2 at least out of this matchup here. Bring it up and over, which is fine. And then right here, we have this little timepiece. And I'm actually so glad the camera is panned back like this, because there's people that are back here watching from this vantage point. Can you see this? Because I can't. Not really at all, as much, you know, and then they're all not looking really. They're kind of just sinking, and we're kind of having to use context clues with one person versus everybody leaning, spotlight action. Make it easy on us as a viewer to know where you want me to look versus making me have to fight for it. Don't make it a Where's Waldo mission. It's fun in K-pop marathons, not fun in a competition. Down, so now we have this. Why is there no spotlight? It's dark, which is whatever. And then pull down, okay, fine. Pull down, up. Grabs it, and the little ISO, watch it, and then we've turned it. Cool. Once again, what are we, okay, watch it. Are we watch us move through time? What's the point? Are they the fire and ice? There's a lot of disconnect for this. I do not blame the crew one for that. I really am. Whoever's performance direction, we gotta audit this and figure it out, because I don't see this working long term. I'm surprised it's worked as long as it has, if I'm being honest. I think they're just scoring lower and lower because we're trying to fight for something that I don't know is worth, well, it's worth fighting for, don't get me wrong, but you gotta figure out a way to package it in a better way for an independent standalone sets. Okay, ONEUS here. And we're going to start off the top. You know what this reminds me of? So they have this prop right here in center. I like the walk. I appreciate the fact that we were fighting for sound and we were stepping on the sound. Manners. So he takes it, he closes it. Cool.
Make it man.
Manners, maketh man. Hits it. Cool. We have this moment and he has this cool. It was a bit hard to see because we had some dancers really close to it. I understand that they were framing out of symmetry for this main little prop, which is fine. But this prop reminds me of the wardrobe that we use at one of our studios for Narnia, because Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So I'm very familiar with using a prop like this, specifically with an LED background like that. Exactly what it reminded me of. I will say, we catty-cornered ours to the corner because here, you use it for the function of teleportation or transporting, and that's what they ended up doing, is they used it as a costume change element. I also know that they try to, you know, make it multifaceted to elevate our level on it too. So I understand why we had it in center. Do I think maybe catty cornering would have been a really interesting thing to workshop? Possibly, if they have behind the scenes. That may be something that is talked about. I don't know that. It does feel a smidgen empty though, because we have a big prop, a singular big prop like this here with a table. It's fine, but not much else to kind of help set the scene outside of an isolated box. But you have the LED setting that, which is what you see here, but this is also the thing you can potentially run into when you have an LED that has different proportions than the props that you have. This feels like this is a wardrobe situation, or is it a door? It could be a door. I don't actually know what this is, and that's fine. But if this doesn't create a sense of function in your scene, which is why I'm telling you, like, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I work every year on projects that has an LED screen that we have to talk about the proportions of it, or we have to do checks and balances on, is it worth it? And I know they can't control how big their scene looks, but you see how big these chairs are. That chair is bigger than this. So you have to be very mindful of, like, okay, maybe this being moved over here, you know, setting it up over here may actually make it feel like it's a part of the scene. Right now it feels like it's a paperweight in the middle of the space. So that's my note that I'm going to give there. But I also know they may not have been able to control that with the Mnet stuff. There's a lot of copyright things with LED imagery. So they grab the umbrella, we have a sense of combativeness. So maybe we're going with that, not noir as much, but it does give that Gatsby, it's like the
not Gatsby roaring 20s, but that kind of era of fits, you know, like an old time period of the 40s, 30s, something along those lines. Not Western, but it's after Western. You have that vibe, which is cool. So it's combative. It's cool. I like that motion there. He moves around. He goes kick, 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 kick. Every time I see that, it reminds me of No More Dream by BTS. No, they're not the first group to do it, but it's the first group to me in my head way back when that came out that I saw it on. So now we have our guys right here. It feels like we are not in the same realm to any extent on concept. But I understand the reason why they did this. I bet you is because NCT 127, it's a Bruce Lee where the tracksuit in the background looks exactly like what NCT did to promote their stuff. So they go down. This, yeah, that's just what it feels like. It's cool, and then if anything, people in the audience are like, oh my gosh, I know this song. But I come from the playing field of you shouldn't have to assume. You don't want to assume anything that your audience knows outside of they're showing up and they are a fan of somebody. You don't know if they know this song, and that can make it a turnoff if it's like, I don't get it. You can't assume that somebody's going to get it, and that's my note with Crew 1. That's my note here. It's a I get it because I literally had the kick it pulled up, but I wouldn't have that privilege if I was watching. You know, I'd be trying to piece things together, but I understand why they did it. I don't know if it was the right call. Just like I don't think this was the best song choice with going the direction they did. It's just so interesting why we chose to do that. The run is fine, hit, and also our members, because their color palette is so dark, it is hard to tell them apart from the dancers because the dancers are in a darker boiler suit. And I'm not quite sure why the dancers are in the fits that they are in the type of noir, you know, older scene that's been established too. Base kick over, Bruce Lee. Little overhead and the accent is fine. Bruce Lee, boom. And then he has this moment, shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Yeah. And now we're just choosing to ignore our costuming. Okay. Run, over. Bruce Lee. High, low. So it just feels like we're doing tribute to NCT here. Okay, cool, fine and dandy. We're about a minute in on a 3.5 minute routine. That can really work against you. Bruce Lee, the ponies are fine. They drop down. I like that, the fact that they go boom. And the transition of our members getting to the back was really nice. So I guess maybe that was their goal, is to make their tracksuits tribute to NCT or their vibe in general. I don't know. To Bruce Lee. I think it's more so that than NCT. And the transition, like, gets them to blend in with the dancers so they can pull this. I think would be like my assumption. So the twinkling is, hey, look at this magical thing that's taking place. So now are we in a different dimension? Are we supposed to be in the same kind of era that we've already set up in the beginning? I feel like we've already disconnected from our concept, that wherever we're trying to come up with. It felt like here's this really cool gimmick that Luna also pulled in their second challenge of Queendom 2. I have to like keep thinking of the different seasons. Well, it's a lot, but it's cool though to talk about. Theirs made sense though. It made practical sense because they furthered and progressed the storyline. This does not. It just feels like a gimmick for the sake of it. And we're no longer in the era that they're trying to sell us to. Live vocals are live though, so they're going to get points for that, as they should. Absolutely. I mean, they bring it over, hit and hit. It was nice. They go down, up, little piano, angsty vibes. Dancers have come in with their umbrellas, run around. Why do our dancers wear what they're wearing? I do find that so fascinating. I personally wish they were in the same type of fits, but it would have made the members stand out even more out of being out of their fits. It's just unfortunate for me, honestly. It's not matching. And it's not on ONEUS. None of the things I'm saying are on ONEUS. Now this feels like we're in the barrel of a gun. Maybe. Something along those lines. And then we have our arms. I like the crispness of this. Beautiful. On the prop work. I love it. He has his moment. Nice and low. And then we have this little X. Stops his hand. Cool. Little head. We throw. And then they're using the umbrella to make it like, hey, don't hurt me. Yeah, and then where are we though? If we're gonna use an LED screen, what is it in the grand scheme of these? Is this an elevator? I don't know what this is. I'm curious. They'll say what it is. I assure you, most likely, right? But I don't quite know. Anyway, so he goes into a
round off, back tuck. It's cool and it's clean, actually. So he gets a big old thumbs up from me for that. Cool and a nice little accented moment. Then you have your dancers in a V, and then we've reverted back to the same color palette that you saw NCT do, and they did not really they adjust this track really that much. Once again, not on ONEUS, but I would dock them for that personally, because this is not a fandom challenge. This is a cover challenge. You want to make it your own, and this is not making it their own at all. It's actually making it more confusing, because we're trying to pull something, a concept that is not matching, because the LEDs or whatever, your lighting and your storyline that you're choosing to go with, the math's not mathing on it. And that is the same choreo that you've seen from NCT. And the name of this move, if you're curious, is called a shmoney, if you just do different arms. But that kind of setup in the torso would be set up that way. So they go down, up, totally fine with the ponies. And it goes down and up. With the umbrellas, it's fine. On my birthday. And they go arm and then high to low, and then we do a little guada on tail end of that, and we go back and back, yeah, cross down, and then we pick it up. So now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm being honest, I mean, I really feel like CRAVITY should be pulling the win off of this matchup. They feel very clear in a lot of facets, even though they still have big notes. Crew 1 and ONEUS drop the ball hard, and that's on the teams, not on them, in so many different ways. Song choice for both of them, as well as concept justification for both. Now, who dropped it harder? There's a good chance, the more that I'm analyzing this, the more I'm thinking ONEUS may have. Now, some people may be like, Jess, they're just doing, because ONEUS took top spot and CRAVITY took the bottom. Now they're doing a reversal. I'm checking the receipts here, and I can see why. I mean, do I feel like there's some politics on the back end? Always, but I will be shocked if ONEUS pulls the win for this, and I'm just calling it what it is. Like, I hate saying that, but I will be surprised, because it must be, I am living under a rock as somebody who's analyzed K-pop choreography for a hot minute now, and I'm missing these really big pictures here. And it's not because I don't know the track. I feel like I have enough context on how the world works to know how to piece together a universal concept. So and the setup there, I mean, having your dancers join in for that part on the outside is fine, and then they open it up, boom, one of the umbrellas got caught. You noticed that. I appreciate both with Crew 1 and with ONEUS, however, we did not have a camera on stage, so it felt like the performance was tailored to the audience, so I appreciate that. So I didn't note that for Crew 1. That is a big compliment I'm giving them. That is still a huge note I'm giving CRAVITY, the team, not the members. So then you have this moment with our ace. I know he's our ace still here, right? I would say it's safe to assume. Now, what's different about having the umbrellas cover up to not? So the guys have all come in. We have this. So maybe they're used as like bulletproof umbrellas to make them unscathed. Possibly. Part of me wishes that there was a modification or something different about what they were wearing there. That's an appropriate costume change. Do you know what I mean? So that's my note there. And also, based on the era of their fits, yes, you have those it's like the gangster machine guns with the whole magazine not here, but like all the way down. It goes travels up. It's a little note there, but so they have. What are they doing with the umbrellas? So they go on the sounds. That's cool. Stomps down coming up. Now, based on the type of bum, I was expecting step. I'm kind of glad they didn't do it, because I'm a huge advocate for, if you're going to do it culturally right. And that was a big note I gave. I don't know if it was on the Queendom franchise, but it was a note I gave to someone, somewhere, at some point. It's been a topic in some places recently, but I don't know who. So we're just going to ignore that. Walking forward. The step scuff. It's interesting that we're choosing to put our hands in our pockets here. I don't know why. It does make it feel muted, but then I like how we're taking our arms. We go down and down and down, and then we push it, and then we go to reset. It does feel like some of our guys are going more full out than others. So I want the energy to be the same, because what happens is if you have somebody go more full out than somebody else, the range is going to get off, meaning not just your timing A and B, but how you get to A and B is going to be off. And then right there, I like the little window transition, but it does feel like we have our dancers in the back. Cool. And then you have your members in the front, but because the color palette is still so muted, I mean, you have one person in white and others look like they work at a library. That's cool. Vibes. We're here for it. It's still hard to tell the difference between your members and your dancers. here. So I like that. Of course, we're singing live, so it makes sense why he's not. He's going more muted. That's fine. But he's singing here, but he's supposed to be my ace? Maybe, and they're just trying to go and still keep him in the spotlight, but subtly, if that makes sense. So these are CCs, and I would say Huang did not do the second CC, so that's my note there. The kick is fun, and then they do a little, just syncopated little step outs, which is cool, little kick outs. And they bring it up into just up at the top, and then that's a kick out, or we call that a shootout. And then this is a cannon. They take it out, rotate it around. Of course, the suspenders drop down. We'd safety pin that, so that doesn't happen. But that's life as he goes up and down. He's not gonna make it a moment. It's whatever, you know. And that little boom, cool. And then he hits it, boom, nice. And then we have these little melts. And then yeah, so these LEDs are honestly some of the most disconnected as well that I'm gonna give whoever was in charge of that. Just kind of feels like just throw up anything, which is not gonna work in your favor at all for this case. We have the smoke. Why do we have smoke? What have we done? What did we do here? What was the point of it? Like, there's no point. If you're going concept like this is a concept, and there's no functional point behind it, I feel like I'm missing something huge. I feel about as lost here as I did with Crew 1, but with Crew 1, I at least had intro stages and stuff to go off of, and I shouldn't have had to go off of those, and I'm still just as confused as I was the first time. So, slow walk, that's fine. Little moment. With digs, they go down and up. Cool. Melt and melt. Cool. And they push, and the lift up is really nice. So I love the ease of these lifts. That's something I can commend across the board. It's nice. We only had about one hiccup of a lift. Out of all the groups, that's impressive. So high, low, and then we take the arms. I like the little speed change on that. I like that choice. And then we're walking. That's fine. And so you have your members have absence of movement, and then you have your dancers move around. Cool. That little boom, 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 boom. Cool. So it's like we're having our moment. Some of us are going really, really big in our movement. Some not at all. So I don't quite know why we did that. Was it because of his high note? Was it because we're about to explode something? What's the point? There's the explosion. Okay, cool. One of them stays up. Nice. There's our ponies. And then this gives Bruce Lee. What does this have to do with what they're wearing? So, little ponies is fine. New dance. Hit, high to low. And they go Bruce Lee. Nice. And then we have one of them goes lower. That's fine. I think that was just he may have lost balance and he just sunk lower. He's going really, really full out for this moment, which actually takes away from the moment. You see what I mean? So that's the little stuff that I'm talking about. Is that it's cool when you go super, super full out. Everyone's got to go full out if you ain't featured, and that's a great example of why it doesn't work when you do that. Hit there. It goes down, up. You go have the energy there, and then the push, and swing it up, boom, boom. Like we're about to do a drop. So this breakdown's in unison, and then of course you have your dancers drop lower. That's fine. It's cool. I like the reach up. And they go over, transition. The rolling on the floor is fine. Any of your members is also fine. Bruce Lee, they throw, and we throw. And we go out, in. And then we go Bruce Lee. Sweet. And he says it, boom, over. And then it's all fire, and everyone's down. So they honestly, if I'm being completely real, just like with 8-turn, their biggest note was the fact that it felt like a dance crew. But they stayed at least like on brand to a certain extent, even if it didn't deviate a ton. I think they would have fared better just sticking to the original concept of what this track's about for a couple of reasons that I already kind of stated. But this did not read nearly as much as I think what the intention was of whoever brainstormed this. But once again, when I do these analysis, I never think about the groups in isolation to the artist. It is not solely these groups that we're talking here. We're talking about the stylists. We're talking about whoever composed and arranged it. That's a note to them. Whoever's in charge of the lighting, in charge of the movement direction, performance direction. Those are all different skill sets. So who they have there, something needs to change because the direction that we're going here is not working in ONEUS' favor the way that I feel like they wanted it to come across as, right? So that is a huge note that I'm giving this. We do have, which I find interesting, we have these aces. So it's CRAVITY, and I only see 2 of them. It's CRAVITY and ONEUS. So I did hear the logistics of challenge 2, or it's like ace versus ace. but I can't tell you why they were, I mean, not why they were selected, but what happens or how these are being voted. So we're just going to look at these and I'm going to tell you what the elements are with them. But here we go. Oh, that was interesting. That was a Vinny Vici moment. Double pirouette, kind of fell out of it a little bit. Okay. Cool. Okay, and then we have this one. Let's watch it. Little Valdez. Chennai moments. It's interesting we chose to go more contemporary on these ace matchups. Are we pulling a Tempest right now? Okay. Okay. There's no reason to pull out a Crown of Thorns for this at all. Like, it was really cool, and then we pull a Tempest, where it's like, why? What is going on? Why did we choose to do that? Because it's, okay, Sovereign Shadows, there's no lyricism to go off of. His movement quality, okay, it's fine. It feels like, okay, are we selling ourselves to the devil? What's going on? Don't quite know. We have this flower. Okay, we're creating, we're using it, we're going down. We throw up some dust. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to analyze it. I mean, yes, I am supposed to analyze it. But then there's no music, and then he goes over, and he grabs this Crown of Thorns. Now, I'm a Christian, and Jesus wore a Crown of Thorns, and for me, that is not, it's Sovereign Shadows. Like, I'm trying to understand, I wasn't thinking this was religious in any way until they added this. There's really a no lens where you would see a Crown of Thorns outside of that specific context. So for me, I think it's very safe to bring it up. Just like you had literal demons in Unite set. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what to make of these. If I'm being honest, I kind of, okay, let's go back to CRAVITYs. I mean, well, actually, hold on. I need to. One of my patrons actually wrote rules down, so I'm gonna go read those real quick before we come back to this. Okay, so I read, and there really wasn't a lot for me to glean. I don't know why these are our two aces that were selected, and we don't have 7 of them. Maybe it's a one ace score, like one ace is acting on behalf of a team, and they have to call out another ace, and then they do an ace duel. I think, as just going off of what I've gleaned. But I don't know if it's CRAVITY who called it or if ONEUS called it. So maybe it's the assumption of ONEUS because I ranked them low. So it could be them, or it could be CRAVITY. I don't freaking know. Okay, let's analyze these. So they hit it over, rotation around. They both chose to go white. White with an angsty contemporary feel. Okay. So they go down, like a little speed change. The slide is nice. So we come up. I love that with the turn, totally fine. Presenting out, I like that choice with a nice isolated wave on that. It's cool. He goes down, backwards roll, drops down, the little it's fun. Twinkling it in from pinky over to thumb. Then the accents, boom, boom, fold down. You bring it over, boom. I like the accent on this part. And it goes down, up, rotating it through. So choreographically, I like the framing of it. It's nice. I like the wave of the travel on the percussion. Cool. And this one is called Dance with the Devil. That is hilarious to me. The fact you have one called Sovereign Shadows with a freaking crown of thorns, and then you have Dance with the Devil that just feels like a contemporary angsty routine. Like, I don't know what to do in these situations. The lift is fine, so the lift up is fine. The slow walk, the little chest rotation's cool. They go down. That was a gorgeous line, guys. That's pretty. Head rotation's nice. We come up, which is cool. Present out. We go up in, and we go with a passe leap. We go down. I like that little accent on the tail end too. Comes up, bridge recover. Another angsty moment. Boom, boom. From side to side is nice. So we present out. Little kickball change. Head up. The bleed up, down. Now, some of this does feel like we're kind of plateauing in our choices of syncopation as well as our overall texture utilization and dynamics, but I like his movement quality. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about the structure of the choreography. It's doesn't feel like we're progressing to what's our climactic moment, right? It goes in. It does feel like he had to modify that run because he had no space. Because it's an arena. I mean, even though it's not, it's an arena style stage, but there's not people on the other side. Does that make sense? Like how it's structured, it's circular. If you saw World of Dance, the actual TV show, that's the kind of stage they had, but they had people all around it. The turn, like that there. It is giving a smidgen like a modern influence on it. If you watch Stage Fighter, they have the contemporary auditions. That should remind you of some of the elements in that, which I find to be fun. The presentation, boom, boom, da, over, hit, down, boom, boom, boom. So I like these little interruptions, these glitches coming in. The throws are fun, click, click. And then that is the Vinny Vitty Vici world. It's cool to throw, and then a little shampoo. So we're still creating this little angsty texture accent on a lot of our choices. So that's my note to the choreographer for that. If he choreographed it, that's my note to him. So he's doing a good job executing it, but the structure I don't think is as practical on the captivation on what this is on the show, if that makes sense. And then he arms up, little angsty moment, he turns. He's not on a releve, he's doing a pirouette, but the form is not correct. So that would be my note there. He comes out, and I like the finish. It's nice, and then he finishes. I appreciate that. Now, I am curious about the logistics of how Mnet disclosed how aces compete. Are they allowed a no holds barred? They can have props. They can do this, that, and the other. I'm assuming you can because we have a, Hwang being able to do that as well. Like he has a little prop here at the front. I will say I don't think he needed this. I mean, for the dust was cool and it created this little like gray element. Like that's cool. I feel like this apparatus, he didn't need the crown of thorns. I don't know why we chose to do that at all, honestly, because Sovereign, yeah, it's because I'm not, let me say this too. I'm not offended. I'm not offended by that. Just like I'm not offended about YOUNITE's perspective. You have free will to do whatever you want, especially as adults. I just don't understand the function behind it. Just like I didn't understand, like I'm already sensitive to it. I'll put it that way. I'm sensitive to it because one, it didn't have a functional concept, but now it feels like we're trying to push for something and it missed again. And it pulled the one element of Tempest that I gave a huge note on his ace one, where he had his whole moment post music, super awkward. And here he's pulling out his crown of thorns and putting it on his head, and there's no music. There's nothing there that's like, why did we do that? Yeah, because the crown of thorns, if you didn't know, like the imagery of that is because Jesus is the King of the Jews, and so it was out of mockery of Jesus is why they put it on. Does that make sense? So I don't know, is it to make a mockery of him? I don't know why. It doesn't signal corruption. It signals
the weight of the importance of why Jesus did what he did, if that makes sense. So I just find that so fascinating. And so he's like that. Interesting. Like, is this it's a rose? The explosion moment is fine. His commitment to character is top freaking tier. I honestly think this would have been phenomenal if he didn't have whatever he had, this little apparatus. It could be something a little different, a little smaller, but still have the smoke. The black little boom, 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 freaking sick. Amazing. Probably one of the coolest elements you could have done. And take the crown of thorns out, and you're golden, man. And we're fine. So the little trace round is fine, the little pike, and then we melt it down. And then the little Valdez, gorgeous. So his form, he's on releve, and he's doing chaînés, which is nice. Personally, I would want him to not have to reset every time, but that's just a preference thing. He extends out to the side, so he goes up. No, I'm not quite sure. It was like an in-between kind of leap. Not sure what we were going for. The bleed around over. He goes and re-rotates it around. He has his moment. So this, you have these whispers going on. Doesn't it feel familiar? Unite, their deal, corruption. You're making a deal for the sake of corruption. We drop it down. Now he grabs it and he throws it. So it's an entire pit of dirt, which is cool. It goes down, up. And I like the fact that you can see it just getting all over his outfit. It's dope. It's cool. And it hits it around really nice. And hits it over. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. I don't know if the timing was right there. It could be an audio overlay thing. He goes boom, boom. The reach over is nice. We bring it over. Is he possessed? Maybe. The lighting's really cool. And hit it over. Now it definitely feels very... it's very full in the percussion. It definitely gives a traditional cultural dance vibe, or more tribal vibe. It feels like that, but it could be because of the type of percussion it is. But it's very hybrid, that's whatever. So nice, I don't mind it. His full outness is great. And he goes high, low, and he goes up, and he goes out, in. Now this part, that's sick. That is so sick. That's awesome. And then they go and they reach around, and it goes ding, 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 down, up, and they melt it down. And in that part, I do think he could have gone more full on for that. Throw, high, low, and he turns, and then he goes and he drops. That's really all he needed to do. And then from here, we go, and we're looking. We pull up, crown of thorns. Why? You tell me. I don't know. And we're down. And... he's just kind of there. Okay. Cool. It is what it is. I mean, that's life. It's about made as much sense as his group set did. So, who would I pick? I kind of would be indifferent, and I would do this. Honestly. I mean, I think when it comes to quality of movement, Hwaung, the choreography that he had, I liked, and he also had gimmicks that he used that were really cool, but the function of them just felt like the gimmick. They just felt like a gimmick. Versus actually contributing to whatever storyline he was setting up. And I don't even know what the freaking storyline was. And then with CRAVITY, his movement was great, but some of the form, the form of it was a little off, like at the end. And it plateaued on progression and depth to it. So I think both have just as big of problems with each other. And part of me just wishes we just had all 7 and we would just rank the aces and kind of call it a day. But I don't know what's going to happen as a result of this, but I know that I will have most of these questions answered when I watch the episode. So please keep that in mind. All these questions I have, I'm going to have a heavily refined perspective most likely by the end of the episode. I bet you. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. If you want in on actually watching the episodes, I have a whole group chat that is going to be going down on Patreon. You just have to be a member. You don't have to be a paying member to be on it and kind of contribute your thoughts. I want to hear from you. What were your thoughts there? And of course, this will come out on YouTube in due time as well. And yes, I do feel bad at times when I feel very constructive on challenges like this, because there's always really great moments, but then there's also really constructive moments, and I know it can come across like I'm being super, super anti the group, and that's really not the case at all. Keep in mind, I've marathoned all these groups. I'm very familiar with their movement qualities. I know a lot of the choreography teams that they're with, so, and I've seen all the kingdoms. So that's why I have a huge understanding of the function of the show and how it's conducted. So holding them to that expectation is a very normal thing, and I think it's appropriate to do because it's kingdom, right? Now, I'm holding them to the Queendom standard more so because of the stage format, so it's not really that. But I really do have a ton of notes for this matchup specifically. It really felt like a lot of things were dropped, and I don't know why. It feels like we weren't committed 100%, and I'm not talking about the artists. It's about the team. It's so many questions on that, but I'm intrigued on the discussions here. Yeah, you guys know me. I know you. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.